Hello everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade. I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 429. It is Saturday, November 19th, 2022, and I'm glad you could join me today. In a moment of sadness, it is approximately 4:30, and the sun is going to set soon. So we'll get some lovely golden hour light. And some of me, whatever, trying to figure out how to troubleshoot all my knitting. It's fine. It's fine. And in a rare situation, I am actually in a good spot on this project to show it off to everyone. It's like we're not in the middle of a row. We can see the great, tremendous majesty of it all. And maybe even, if we're very careful, we spread it out nice. Yeah, you can see the center is very interesting. It sort of, it changes. So nominally, I've been calling this brioche drops. I'm not sure if we'll end up getting a different name, but you can see the transition to single color brioche showing through, even though maybe it doesn't read clearly on pattern. And this is, roughly speaking, it should be sort of on the crescent, shallow triangle end of things, but it's big. It's definitely closer to the schlanken end of shawl. Would it be? That makes sense. 10 ounces of yarn. So, true? Yeah. So, and the wrong side for funsies. Like, definitely sort of a different, darker experience, and you can see the transition a lot more clearly there. Interesting. Yeah, no, the colors are definitely coming through very clearly on this, so interesting. Fascinating. So this is a shawl of my own design. It is obviously super duper big. And last week I was talking about it and realized something had gone wrong in my math, and so I ended up ripping out a week's worth of knitting and then re-knitting it. And thankfully we are now to the point where we are past the point of ripping, which is good. I'll get that other stitch on there. And now we're just to the point of executing the pattern in a way that's closer to the intent. You know that moment when you're ripping something back and you finally get to the point where you've passed your ripping. That was a very gratifying moment. I don't remember when that happened, but it was gratifying. It was also maybe not a super duper knitting heavy week because my spouse was in Edinburgh, and so there was a lot of bambino carrying on my own that had to occur, and it meant that I could not do some of my normal things like go to knit night. I'm fixing that. So it was definitely very, very wonderful to have him back on Tuesday. And my phone's blowing up because the Berkeley knitters are getting together tomorrow. So I am not planning on doing anything fancy, I don't think. Who knows, I I can definitely change my mind too. So, or the Berkeley knitters are planning on getting together. So, what would it be? So there's definitely a lot of chitter chatter happening there as we're sort of catching up with each other. So there's the story there, and I'm in the midst of holiday shutdown, so that's lovely. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how things are going to work out, but I did end up picking up some responsibility at work, so we'll see how things turn out. It may be the case where we're just playing hot potato. Eventually the hot potato smacks my boss in the face, so it's okay. What it be? I'll see how everything goes. That'll be fine. But yeah, no. So would it be? And then it's just going to be overall pretty darn exciting week. Would it be? Maybe I'm thinking that there is more time than there really is, because what would it be? Previous times when I've just taken the whole week of Thanksgiving off. Would it be one of those times? I think we had Netflix, like we got Netflix finally, and that was I think in 2020. And that was a binge for all binges. I think I knit a sweater, and that I think was the Isbray sweater. So I'm sure it'll be fun. Yeah, but the concern at the moment is what would it be? The concern at the moment is if I need to start a new project, because I can't make forward progress on my Scheherazade. There's someone who knows how it's supposed to be pronounced. Though I did get a bit closer to figuring out how to estimate how much yarn I'll be using on it. Figured out a pretty clever way of making that happen. So that is lovely, I think, and if it's a little bit overestimated, that probably isn't the end of the world. But I've reached a impasse because border chart 3 and border chart 4 don't seem to connect to each other. Like you'd figure there was some sort of sensible multiple between them. Like for some crazy reason, it goes from being like a 16 stitch repeat to a 20 stitch repeat, then to a 30 something stitch repeat. And it's not hanging. So would it be like, so because this calculation is not complete, nor do I anticipate that I'm going to miraculously fix it. I might be possible. I might be able to fix it. So because it's not there, it's entirely possible I'm gonna have to rip some of it out. Yeah, because no, it was, that was way off. That was that. So So what would it be? So I'm at this part here at the last row of border chart 3. We're up to 937 stitches, so versus if we scroll back a 277 stitch row. So yeah, no, they're poor calculation is like so totally wrong. We're starting to get we're getting to sunset now. What would it be? I think I've missed the momentous the sunsets in the notch in the hill, which is purely this notch in the hill point is purely a function of exactly where my house sits in relation to the western horizon. So like right into like, or would it be like very very close to solstice. I might be able to see sunset on water if it's clear. Like we're getting, I don't know. It may never happen either. But there isn't a lot of time where that situation comes to be. But it's like nice and cloudy out, so I think it'll make a nice sunset. It'll be nice. What would it be? So like it's closer. I'm way closer than I was, but it's definitely the case where sometimes I'm just sort of like sitting there counting everything out and trying to figure out why in the world it's so why in the world it's so broken. As you do. So, or every so often, like, it'll be the case where sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna get serious about figuring out what's wrong with my map. But then I work on it for a while, and then I reach some sort of like, this doesn't make any sense at all, and then I will set it aside, and then it'll take, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 minutes of going through everything again to figure out, like, oh, that's why I got angry and stopped. And there have been a couple of times where that's happened several times. And I don't know if anger is even the right word to describe that, but yeah. So we're getting closer. But those this last chart is challenging me a bit right now. And it may be the case where I just need to, or would it be I need, like, it might be that I need greater specificity in what's going on. It could be the case where I'm missing. I don't think I'm missing things in the edges. Like, basically speaking, I needed to have a way of taking care of end a half. So we shall see. Hopefully it'll be okay. And then the other thing that I'm pondering about this, because I did actually have like a pretty healthy amount of the dark yarn remaining, so I'm thinking that if I want to use up as much of the colored yarn as possible, on this shawl the brioche drop shawl, I'm going to probably end up doing a I-cord bind off in the contrast color. I'm calling it a day. That just came, whatever. That's been something that I've been pondering about for a little bit, so should be fine. Yeah. But I don't know, it doesn't feel like I have enough yarn for upcoming trip and can't take the lace shawl with me because that'll be a little bit of a mess. which probably means I need to start a new project. And then it's a question of, do I start a project that I was thinking about like a month ago? Be like, how far have I really gotten on this project from a month ago? But situation is a little bit different. Not, I don't think I'm planning on bringing spinning. Yeah, what would it be? I'm not 100% sure how everything's going to break down in terms of would it be whether or not it's going to be a hot mess because routines are disrupted. Traveling long distances, would it be being in unfamiliar places? Did you actually bring the correct stuff in order to make things happen? All of that fun stuff. So I don't know how restful how restful it's all going to be in the end. Whether or not there will be very much, or no, or alternatively, there's lots and lots of hands available and things are fine. I look unclear. So, but I don't know, like, looks like there's only like 3 colors left of this, so like this guy could wrap up very soon. It doesn't, yeah, it just doesn't seem like a lot. Like I don't even know if I'm gonna manage to get a full repeat of this pattern in before I need to stop. Now that I better understand how this pattern hangs together. It's like, yeah, and I think the scale of this is gonna end up being like it's gonna end up being a little bit bigger. And that is, what it be? And that's purely a function of what stitch count I'm transitioning from. So I am continuing, or would it be? I didn't do any zhuzhing there. So I think it was like, because as I mentioned, I think before I was going from a 12 stitch repeat to a 16. And I translated that from 12 stitches to 24 now. So it may be the scale of the pattern is just totally different and it won't look the same at all, but I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, so basically the difference between this pattern and the one that I had transitioned from is like the structure of it is very similar, but halfway through there is an offset. So that ends up creating sort of the it ends up creating sort of the same sort of shape as before. So it should be good. What would it be? So it is Greenwood Fiberworks Llama Silk in the Denali color, and then a Hip Strings Base 12 spin along from 2021. And all sorts of delightful wool and silk blends. So that is the story there. What I do have pulled out still is this, so maybe it's worth winding and thinking about how all of that's going to come together. Well, we shall see. Alternatively, while I was pondering what was going on with this, I did realize that there were actually mistakes pretty early on in this, so I don't know whether or not that explains, I don't know whether or not that explains some of the strangeness that I was noticing with it. Would it be, or just the case where, like, the nature of the fabric, it may just be where, like, could it be that the needle, let it be. It could just be that, I don't have quite the right gauge on this for it to hang nicely. I don't know. 'Cause I do like all of the colors and the fact that I managed to incorporate all these samples in here. Would it be? But yeah, there's just something like a little bit strange about the shape that is making me wonder about it. And it was something that ended up coming together really quickly. So there's that. So maybe it's the case where I end up figuring out how to fix this bad boy so it works a little bit better. But I think like some of the strangeness could be attributed to missing increases, and actually you can see the missing increases here. Yeah, so there were supposed to be increases there, so I don't know if that was what was making it strange, or if it's something else. So, I don't know. It definitely has, like, inspired by Stephen West, but yeah, no, you can sort of see how it's just sort of is that weird thing. Not sure what to do about that. So that's been hanging out on the ground, waiting for some sort of decision. And figure out how exactly I'm tackling that, but it would mean that I would end up ripping further back than I originally thought, because yeah, I would have to rip back further than I originally thought because of the mistakes I ended up finding in it. So I'm not sure what way to go, or would it be, or it'd be the case where working in the round a little bit sooner would end up changing things up like a little bit. And maybe that would be the case where if it was tighter around the neck, it would be less important. I'm like trying to think. Like the other thing I think just entirely has to do with like structure of fabric and whether or not I got drapey enough on it because of the structure. Like I'm trying to figure out, like, is it too drapey? Is it not sturdy enough? I'm guessing it could probably be knit on bigger needles and still be good. The sunset is very good. Let's see. Let me show. Can you see? Will you be able to see? No. Okay. We try. Would it be? We'd have to only get the light in the frame. So that's that pondering, but this one would be like a reinterpretation of the pretty thing. It's 2-color brioche, because that's what I do. So the other thing going on is that I'm taking part in a fiber swap, and I need to card up bats for my swappee. And what I ended up doing was I ended up pulling out some of my Nest Fiber Stash. So this one is Eclipse. And it has, or would it be? It'd be the case where it has sort of like a russety sort of red, pinks, like a mustardy yellow, and the sort of like slatey blue and sort of greenish color to it. And what I ended up doing was I split it up into sort of color blocks, and I'm planning on drum carding across as a gradient bat. So it's going to be 2 2-ounce bats. Hopefully that ends up not being too crazy. Just have to set aside a little bit of time in order to make that happen. And I've already split up the other colors here, so we'll end up getting some pretty good gradient action going in here, because there's little bits of sort of all the colors in it. So like these are like the greenier bits, but that's because there's like yellow and the blue. And this guy is more of the yellows. The pinks. And then finally the sort of more russety red colors. So I'll have to pull out the scale and make sure everything's coming together nicely, but seems like a fun project. When I was stalking my partner, it definitely seemed like they were cool with all of the colors, so there didn't seem to be any like no-go zones. So would be not necessarily like mega jewel tones, and the fiber is Targi bamboo silk. So I think that'll be fun to mix up and that sort of thing. So should be good. Would it be? I don't know whether or not I'll be able to show the finished bats. It may be the case where I'd have to like podcast early and then go to the mailbox because I'm running out of time to finish. And then what ended up coming in the mail this week, oh, it shows up so clearly here. So I ended up getting my 2022 Hip Strings Base 12 Spin Along Fiber. So I thought the bag was really cool with the colored pencil motif. And then we have a bunch of lovely packages of fiber and all of the misdirections. So shouldn't be too crazy, but we have our key, we have our instructions, we have an aesthetic that I know that I already like, and another 12-sided die. I probably didn't even know that, but it's fine. I don't know if there's any other goodies in here too, so shouldn't be too crazy. But Nick and Jill of Hip Strings do a live spin along in the lead up to Christmas, and whatever, like I'm hoping that I finish this particular project with the yarn that I made last year in time, but the fiber prep was amazing. Sorry. It's very lovely. It was a very lovely spin. It was very lovely to hang out and chill. Would it be? And like it was like a pretty good road to be. It was nice sort of in the lead up to Bambino shenanigans to just have some chill spinning time. So looking forward to that. Have that well ahead of time, so shouldn't be a big deal there. It's not looking good for me finishing my spin the bin. I'm still spinning Oops. I'm still spinning some stuff from July. So sweater spin hasn't made any forward progress. Whatever. Well, I'll get back to it eventually. Right now might not be my season of spinning, and that's fine. Though there's an awful lot of fiber. Pluses and minuses there. What would it be? So the intent is to keep up with the base 12 spin along, though that'll be, I don't know, I think that starts on, I don't actually even remember what day it's starting. Like, I think it's the case where it starts on the 12th, and so then you do 12 through 24, though they might end up having it a little bit beforehand. And I'm not sure what my plan is for the yarn or how I'm going to spin it. What I ended up doing last year was I did one ply in the prescribed color order, and I did a different ply with random color order. And that turned out very pretty. I know that the color story for this one is along these lines, so we can expect to see, I think, all of these colors in there, which is fine in my book because they're all, what would it be? The yellow challenges me, but I know it's going to look amazing with the blue too. Just accept it for what it is. So yeah, I would be when I saw the inspiration photo. I'm like, oh, definitely need to do it this year too. So it would be no yarn advents. I've never done that before, and don't anticipate that I would. And maybe the solution to all of my problems is to just cast on some socks. It might be nice to have a small project, because I've had these big projects forever. So what would it be? Slowly but surely working our way through. So it might be nice to have a fast project. And that could be nice and compact and not take up too much room, and that could be nice. Or I take or would it be? Or I put this project into my little sock bag and call it a day. That's also a distinct possibility. I don't know. I would like, this is very, very luxurious. It does seem like a nice treat to be able to knit with this yarn. So the pink yarn is a blend of camel, merino, and Kiviet. And then the lighter yarn is merino, silk, and baby camel. So that's why I was sort of pairing them together. And then I ended up silk plying the Kiviet blend yarn. So what would it be? It does have a little bit of like a texture to it, but it's very fine. Like, I want to say it's like 300 yards and like less than 20 grams. So we shall see. And it's possible that I just knit the pretty thing out of the pink yarn alone. We'll see. We'll see what way I break up. Because it may just be the case where it ends up getting like totally lost. Because this yarn here is definitely definitely a loftier, thicker yarn. It feels amazing though. It's definitely not as fine as the other one. I want to say there's more like 200 yards in this one. So that's where I'm at right now. We'll find out next time what I cast on, because there needs to be something. And now that the sun is really properly set and the darkness has descended, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. So take care, guys. Bye bye.